Good morning, students. Welcome back to Atmiya Green School. I'm Afrin Sayed, your English teacher. Today, students, we are going to study Unit 2, Section 3, Trains, a poem written by Humayun Kabir. Students, if you can remember your childhood, or if you can remember for now also, that as a child, as a little child, where we have numerous questions, where we keep on asking the question to our elder ones. I remember my childhood where I was, you can say, I had a treasure of questions actually. I keep on asking the question. Unless and until I get the answer, I go on asking. And I think it's not just about me, but it's about every other child, every little, it is about every little kid who keeps on asking the question. Because as a child, we have our own world, a world which had a lot of truthfulness, a lot of honesty, a lot of innocence, where we have so many questions that we need answer to each one of it. I remember when I was too young, young in sense, when I was just about 5 year, 5 years old, or I guess 5 or 6, somewhere between 5 or 6. And I remember my father got a camera, a video recording camera, and he was keeping it into the charge. And while he was exploring it, the camera was on, and I was just standing beside him. He was checking that how is it recording and what are its function and everything. And I was just sitting beside him, and it is recorded in that camera too that I might have asked the question for more than 10 times. And the only question and the only thing which I was kept repeating, and whereas my father is nodding his head, nodding his head and answering my question by nodding his head about yes or no. Because my question was about yes or no. My question was, Papa, ये camera है ना? Papa, ये camera है ना? I was kept repeating that question, and he kept nodding his head, saying yes. Unless and until he opened his mouth and said, हाँ बेटा ये camera है, I kept asking. After I got the answer, हाँ बेटा ये camera है, I said, पापा ये कैसे चलता है? How does it work? इसे क्या करेंगे? ये बटन किस चीज के लिए है? यहाँ से रिकॉर्ड होगा, ये कैसे बंद होगा? ये कैसे खुलेगा? And the entire video is just filled up with my questions to my father. And he's explaining me things. And you know what? After he had explained me in that story, I'm asking him again, "Papa, इससे photo click हो सकता है?" And he's like, of course, if it can record the video, it can click the photo too. So, this is how the children are. This is how we are as a kid. This is how you are as a kid. You keep asking the questions. And that is the most innocent part of the story. If I say just about yesterday, um, my younger sister and I was not so well, so we visited hospital along with my mother. So my mother accompanied both of us. So my younger sister, she is in class ninth. So as she is much younger to me, as she's in class ninth, and she is the youngest in our house. So she had got a lot of pampering and love from us. And she is a little kid for us, though she is in ninth standard. So she was sitting in between me and my mother. And she was like reading those banners outside the cabin of doctor. And she was reading those lines. keep your shoes out, take care of this, take care of that. There were some bottles capped in which there were some, mm, you can say some acids and everything, which were basically, which might be, and there were some bottles of syringe and everything lying on the table. And she was like, "Ye kya hai? What is it used for? What is this stand for?" I was, and after a minute, after some, like me and my mother both were answering her questions, and after a while, I was like, "Look, I'm not a doctor. I'm patient just like you, so I can't answer each and every question in detail for you. If you want to know, you have to become doctor. You'll get all the questions." And she was like, "समझ नहीं आएगा तो पूछूंगी तो सही ना." So this is how we are. This is how we are as a king. And like in both of my stories, you saw that there were questions. And just like that, we have a little kid in the poem who is very fond of trains that pass under his window. He is filled with wonder, seeing the shape and speed and light and restlessness, and always asks his mother about each train that passes by. The poem is therefore about different kind of trains and its reaction on seeing them. Students, if you wake up someday in middle of night, you'll be able to hear the sound of trains passing. And here, our kid have train just near to his house. So he keep on asking the question of train to his mother. In the very first stanza, the child sees a train without any windows, which is actually a goods train. Yes, if you have ever seen that goods train do not have any windows. Goods trains are just trains which are packed and which have a rectangular cabins. Okay, so it was a good train, goods train. Goods train means something which carries goods. Okay, the train which carry goods is known as goods train. And he compares the train with that of an elephant. Sorry, students. So he compares the trains with the elephant. Just an elephant is huge. Similarly, goods train moving and covering his journey in a tedious way. Tedious means a boring way. Moves in a dark shadow. Here, the train is being compared to an elephant. Okay. So in the second stanza, the child again sees a passenger train. Now here, it is a train which carries the human beings, which carries humans like you and me. You might have sat in the train. Okay, students, it might be a journey of 1 hour, 2 hour, or maybe of a day or of a 2 day. Okay, it can be of 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Okay, so just like that, it is a train which is a passenger train, and hence this train has doors and windows, and the light inside the train looks from far as if some shining lamps are passing the way. This train whizzes past and appears as if there is a marriage, and the train moving is procession which is badek and beautiful and shining. The wheels of the train makes a rhythmical beat of music like chuk, 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 chuk. So, and such kind of music is being made by the train, and the child compares it with the moving wedding procession which moves in rhythm. So here the child compares that sound of train and the light uh, around with the wedding procession. In the third stanza, the child presents the world as sleepy and tired. Uh, it is a hot season, everybody is down with the heat. Even the crow doesn't caw because of the heat. So he says that it is so much hot that even not even a crow is cawing, and the dog hangs its tongue outside being thirsty. But even in this scorching hot day, the child's amusement needs no retirement, and he watches the train passing by continuously in that hot sunny afternoon. The fourth stanza shows the child's obsession with the train. The child is so But even when he gets up in night by sometime hearing the rumbling of the train. Rumbling is basically the sound made by the uh, trains is known as rumbling. He sits up on his bed in the middle of the night, rubs his eye and looks outside the window amidst the dim light of the moon to find the train moving on the iron roads, which looks just like a serpent. So he's comparing the train, the movement of the train with a serpent. And in the final stanza, that is the last stanza of the poem, the child's sympathy pours in the form of questions. He ponders, that means he thinks over the fact that where all these trains over the fact, where all this train goes, where do they leave and where they are going to stop, where is their destination. After covering all the distance on the road, crossing mighty streams and going the past the hills, the destination of the tired trains are still unknown to the child. So the innocence of the child says that where does this train stops? Where does they uh, rest? So he's asking that where does they rest? Humayun Kabir in his poem Trains focuses on the feeling and excitement of a boy who watched the train passing from his window. His childlike curiosity is natural, students, to see them moving all the time. Hence, he kept on asking the questions about by giving the keen observation and innocence that shows maybe the poem is showing the honest depiction of the child's mind. The boy is describing the running trains to his mother as per the perception. Firstly, he sees goods train and he finds with no windows and doors moving tediously like elephants. Then it shows the Then he sees the passenger. Sorry. Then he sees the passenger trains, which has flash and bright windows and loud music of wedding procession, and he compares the train with the wedding procession and the sound of the running wheel. Then, during the long summery afternoon, when the boy's mother sleeps and the whole world dozes off, even when the crows forget to caw and dog sits lazily, the boy watches the train. So he is not getting tired of watching the train. Sometimes, while even sleeping at the night, he gets up and moves, sees the train. So the boy understands as his mother told him that the trains make their way through the hills, they cross the bridges, rivers, and pass through the forest. But she cannot explain, or she fails to explain that where does this trains rest, where this trains stop their journeys. Okay, let's understand. This was a short story about the poem students. Let us understand it more briefly. I'll play the video. Along with the video, I'll go on explaining. Yes, you can see the picture. This person is Humayun Kabir. Humayun Kabir was Bengali poet, novelist, educationist, and politician. Was educated at Exeter College, Oxford, and graduated in 1931. Kabir had been heavily involved with the Oxford Union during his student days, having been elected secretary in 1930 and librarian in 1931. So here the poem is Like a gist of the verses, Humayun Kabir in his poem Trains focuses on the feelings and excitement of a boy who watches the trains passing from his window all day long. His childlike curiosity is natural to see them moving all the time. Hence, he questions his mother. His keen observation, innocence, makes the poem an honest depiction of child, as I already said to you. Okay, so here the poem is: Mother, I sit by my window for hours on end and watch the long trains ramble past. Some are dark and journey tediously. No doors, no windows, no shining lamps. Slowly they move, like huge elephants that move like shadow in the shadowy dark. So in the first paragraph, he says to his mother that always when I peep outside my window, I sees the train, and there are some trains which are not so shiny and which do not have windows. So it is talking. So he is talking about a goods train, and he compares that goods train with huge elephants. He says that that goods train is just like a huge elephant. I'll read it. I'll read the paragraph again for you. Mother, I sit by my window for hours on end and watch the long trains ramble past. Some are dark and journey tediously. No doors, no windows, no shining lamps. Slowly they move, like huge elephants that move like shadows in shadowy dark. Okay, you can understand, you can see that poet is comparing those goods train with the elephant, which keeps on moving and which do not have the shiny lamps, which do not have the doors, which do not have the windows. Then in the second paragraph it goes, sometime a train comes flashing past with many windows, lit by many lamps, that dawn and whirl with a movement swift, a marriage procession with the music loud, shrill whistles that rise above the din of the rhythmic beat of a wheels revolving fast. So in the first two lines, students, he says that there are some trains, that is basically a passenger train, which have the flashing past, which are very much glittering and which have lights inside it, which have many windows and which are lit up by the lamps. And those lamps on the side, on the processions of the sides of the train, dance, move swiftly with the moving train. A marriage procession, he's saying that it is just like a marriage procession which is having a loud music and the whistles, they make sound while moving. While the wheels are moving on the track, they are making a rhythmic sound just like a music in a wedding procession. On hot afternoons, you go to sleep, and with dizzy heat swoons all the world. So what he says that in the afternoons, when the afternoons are very hot, everything goes to sleep. Everything is at rest. Even the crows doze and forget to caw. The dog lies in the shade with the hanging tongue. Why the dog is hanging the tongue? Because the atmosphere is very hot, and it is very hot that he is thirsty out of that hotness. I watch for hours and still the tireless train march on and on along the iron rod. So what he is saying, students, he is saying that in the hot afternoon when everything is sleeping and everyone is resting, even the dog is so thirsty and sitting lazy out of the out of the hot atmosphere, these trains are not tired. I just keep on watching them, and they are tireless trains. They don't get tired. They keep on marching along their iron roads. They kept marching on the iron roads. Here the poet says. I'll read it once again for you students. Read along with me in a rhyme. Mother, I sit by my window for hours on end and watch the long trains ramble past. Some are dark and journey tediously. No doors, no windows, no shining lamps. Slowly they move like huge elephants that move like shadow in the shadow is dark. Sometime a train comes flashing past with many windows lit by many lamps that dance and whirl with the movement swift. A marriage procession with the music loud, shrill whistles that rise above the din of the rhythmic beat of wheels revolving fast. On hot afternoons, you go to sleep with the dizzy headphones on the world. Even the crows doze and forgot to caw. The dog lies in the shade with the hanging tongue. I watch for hours and still the tireless trains march on and on along the iron road. Okay, so I'll revise it once again. The first paragraph is about the goods train. The second paragraph is about the passenger train. The goods train is like an elephant and it is compared with the elephant. Whereas the second paragraph, it is compared with the marriage procession. And the third paragraph depicts the hot afternoons where everything is at rest, but these trains are tireless. They keeps on moving. So now here it comes. Sometimes at night in my sleep I hear the low distant rumble of the train. I rub my eyes and sit up on my bed. And beneath the light of flickering moon moves the long shadowy outline far away, like a huge serpent crawling through the night. So what he sees that sometimes when our little kid is sleeping at night in a deep sleep, he heard or he hears the noise of the train, the low distant rumble of the train, and he gets up. In the excitement, he rubs his eyes on the bed, and what he sees that in the moonlight, in the flickering moonlight within the darkness, there moves a long, long, long train, which moves in a crawling shape, just like a serpent, which has a of shadow in the moonlight. So he says that in a darkness where moonlight is the source of light, there is when everyone is at rest and everyone is sleeping, the train are still moving and they are moving and crawling in different moves, and that moves is being compared with the serpent. Where do all they go? All these trains go day and night. You say they bore their way through hills, they roar over bridges across mighty streams, they crash through the forest and vast plains. But at the end of the restless journey, where do they go and finally rest? So here, when our little boy in the poem keeps on asking questions to his mother, and his mother is explaining about the journeys of the train and the movements of the train, and he is explaining the life cycle of the train. Our poet is asking, where do all these trains go day and night? Why do they keep moving? All the trains are moving day and night. Don't they get tired? And then he says that, mother, you say that they go through the hills. If you have ever if you have ever traveled in the train, students, you would have seen that the trains even cross the huge hills. They get inside the hills and make their way through the tunnel. And they even roads over the bridges. They even cross the bridges. Like we have. Have you ever gone to Surat? If you have gone to Surat through train, you would have seen the Golden Bridge over the Narmada. We have that tree. Sorry, that bridge. From that bridge, our train passes from the river. Okay, with the help of the bridge. So the train passes over the bridges and mighty streams. If someday you travel to Surat in train, then do watch outside the window, but don't take out your hands and hand outside the window. You just have to keep your eyes outside the window and you have to see the scenario that how does the train is going over the bridge. So here you see is that you are mother you say is that they go through the hills, they go over the bridges, but they crash through forest and vast plains. So what he says, but that they crash through the forest and those vast plains. But at the end of the restless journeys, at the end of the journey, where do they go and stay? Where do they go for the rest? Where do they finally rest? Where is the final destination? So the question that where is the final destination of the train remain unanswered because no one knows that where is their final destination. Because children remember trains just keep on moving just like our lives. Okay, so this was the poem. I'll read those two paragraphs again for you. Sometimes at night in my sleep, I hear the low distance and repeat after me, students. Repeat after me. Go along, go sing along with me. Sometimes at night in my sleep, I hear the low distant rumble of the train. I rub my eyes and sit upon my bed. And beneath the light of the flickering moon moves the long, shadowy outline far away, like a huge serpent crawling through the night. So here it is compared with a serpent. Where do all these trains go and day and night? You say they bore their way through hills, they roar over bridges across mighty streams, they crash through forests and vast plains, but at the end of the restless journey, where do they go and finally rest? Okay, so this was the poem students by our poet Humayun Kabir. So here are the words which are being used. Hours on end, which means for a long time. Hours on end, which means for a long time. Tediously, which means tired. Swift means fast. Din is a sound. Dizzy is sleepy. Serpent is snake. Journeying is traveling around. Okay. Hours on end means for a long time. Tediously means tired. Swift means fast. Din is a sound. Dizzy means sleepy. Serpent means snake. Journeying means traveling around. So students, I'll discuss figure of speech with you. In next class, I'll go with figures of speech in briefly and in more better way. I'll prepare notes for you and after that I'll give it to you. Okay. So in the next class we'll study figures of speech. I hope you would have understood the poem very well. The poem was very good and you would have enjoyed the poem too. Okay. I hope you will read the poem. Okay. What you have to do is you just have to read the poem. You have to read the poem, you have to understand the poem, and if you find any doubt, you can watch the video again. Okay, this virtual world has given you opportunity to hear the lesson as much time as you want. Okay, you can listen and you can see the video as many times you want. Unless and until you understand, you can keep watching and watching. Okay, I hope you all are safe. Take care of yourself, pray for the world, and take care of your parents too. Thank you so much. Have a good day.